John 18:36, my kingdom is not of this world. Let's read it. Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews? But now is my kingdom not from hence. So what is this kingdom? Well, here we call it traditions or culture, holidays, birthday songs, cakes and candles, Easter egg hunts, turkey at Thanksgiving, pagan Christmas, consumption of gifts. I guess I would say traditions like Valentine dinners, chocolates and flowers, President's Days, of which every president is absolutely a fallen angel. They were once a president. Today they are celebrities, be it in sports, music, movies, whatever. This kingdom, right, I called the dome of earth. It's ongoing rituals, right? They're practices of fleshly desires. It's all tradition, it's all holiday, it's all cultural rituals. Rituals, it's anything but biblical. It's actually idolatry. So let's break it down through the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke in. It's really about force versus power. The force of darkness versus the power of light. So, when we hear, may the force be with you, that is the same as to say, may the darkness be with you. The dark kingdom called earth is a force of evil, opposite of the light, which is power, which is also you and I, Betsy, as brides. The force insists on our rituals called religion, education, doing the same thing daily or weekly. That is the force of indoctrination on your soul. It's a loss of freedom on your soul. Working 9 to 5. Or doing your Saturday rituals or your Sunday rituals or whatever day of the week you got to do your religious rituals. The force, not power, not light, it's not the kingdom of Jesus. It's a takeover, a possession, a snare on your soul, keeping you from being the bride at any minute. It's not something we're waiting for. You as a soul can become a bride at any minute. So, why the kingdom? Why the kingdom of the bride is within. That's why you can become a bride at any minute. It is within you. You got to take the basket off of your light. A bride would know better than to do rituals. A bride knows not to send their precious little ones into institutions we call schools, into a Rockefeller designed indoctrination. A bride knows not to go to college or send their kids to college or insist they go to university. A bride goes within daily to cultivate wisdom, never looking outside of oneself for guidance. And I mean that instead of the living word. Of course, you're going to go into the living word. So now if you really want to understand force, it's a Bible study of a short 19 verses. It's not a hard study to do. I've had to stop and do many one-word studies to understand and create the content of this video today. A lot of it. I started this content on this video on the Sabbath. So it is Sunday today. So I've been at it for at least 36 hours. At least. All right, in those 19 verses, the word force is first found in Genesis 31:31. Let's read it. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure thou would take by force thy daughters from me. Now again, you're going to need to do a Bible study on the 19 verses of force. But here, force in the concordance is the number 1497. And it means to tear away, to seize, to plunder. So the systems of this kingdom uses force versus power. They convince you going to school daily, the so-called working 9 to 5. So you do that your entire life, then you retire and die broke. Most people. All of this is designed to, as it says in the meaning of force, 1497, to tear away, to plunder your soul. Also known as your status as a bride. And to stay on the death-birth cycle, right, with the fallen little g gods, we read in Psalm 82. The next video is going to be a breakdown thoroughly of Psalms 82. So your bride status is seen in the I. Let's read it in Aramaic. So to get a full picture of the word I, and again, I'm not giving you my fullest picture. I'm abbreviating so I don't make this video too long. So I'm abbreviating, but I'm giving you a good, synopsis on the word I in Aramaic is called Ayin, A-Y-I-N, Ayin. Now, before we read, let's look at the word I in singular form. Because it's the same with Moses as Jesus tells us about the bride in Matthew 6:22 and 23. So before we read it, let's look at the concordance. I in, as for Moses, Deuteronomy 34:7. And again, Ayin. Ayin has the value of 70. And in short, it means Ayin implores us to open our eyes, to see beyond the physical. The Ayin is meant to take us from dark to light. It urges us to break through the walls of limitations in order to see what is not yet visible to us. Ayin is the number 5869. It sees the world and the ways of the world, both the planetary way and the way of the mundane and materialistic world. The way of Ayin, the way of the world, was meant to be the way of planet Earth, the way of nature, the way of natural laws and natural frameworks. That is to say, Genesis 1:1. But we know Genesis 1:2 happened, right? So, the way of the world has, at times, deviated from what is decent and honest, and has fallen into a web of greed, or has been seduced by outer appearance or by the rush towards what is only a material lust. Ayin can relate to the vanities of the world, which mostly constitute a tower of cards for the temporary life. But at the same time, it has in it the potential for seeing the template of reality as it is. On a higher level, even the template of the unseen reality. Ayin can see past from the present and at times even the future. Brides, like Moses was, can appreciate going in a deeper dive into the meaning behind the Aramaic language, and will eventually only think in this way, in this language, Aramaic language. Again, how Moses wrote and how Jesus wrote or talked. So, now that we have just a little glimpse, a very short version of the meaning of Ayin, which is an I, let's read it both. First, a verse in the Old Testament, and then we'll skip to the New Testament with what Jesus tells us. So in the Old Testament, it's about Moses. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 34, verse 7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. Okay, we need to break those words down, do we not? I here is the number 5869. And it's not about the eye. What it means is the mental and spiritual faculties. The second meaning of An is spring and fountain. Again, why? For me, this is where I'm at today on my journey. For me, Moses had obtained the living waters, or to say, he is a bride. Why else would it say spring and fountain? Why else would I mean spring and fountain? I mean, you cannot read the living word without the concordance. You must go, or the lexicon, but you must go through that. So here, the job of religions, or the duty, the role, the taskmaster, the force of religions and cemetery trained pastors, they are trained not to tell you this. They need you to be disempowered, to never know that you have obtained status of the bride. You've obtained the living waters. You have obtained the light. And you come here for a much bigger purpose than working 9 to 5 and going to religious nonsense. Much bigger. We need for the brides to feel and take back their empowerment. Jesus has sent us here, guys. Because Jesus isn't coming back. Right? He's not coming back to this dome world. He came back in 70 AD. Read your history. Right? He did what he said he would do to his generation, his people, his land, and his temple, his father's temple. Right? Over, done. What does Jesus do today? He sends his brides to exegetically study the living word and to get it out there. That's what being a bride requires. An exegetical, one word at a time, study through the living word. Going through the concordance. So, what does also Jesus tell us when we become the bride? We live as an angel. That's why I've been to the angelic dome so many times. Now I understand what they were putting in my mouth that I've always called like cotton candy, that they were giving me manna. Because angels, that's what we eat, manna. And every couple of years, I had to be taken to the angel dome and given manna and put in these manna type of waters. I don't know how to describe the water. It's a texture that we don't have here on earth, so I don't know how to describe it. All I can say, it's manna and water. That's all I know. Anyway, Jesus tells you when you become the bride, you live as the angels do. Let's read it. You can read it in Matthew and Mark. I chose a better description in Luke 20:34-36. And Jesus answering said unto them, the children of this world marry and are given in marriage. But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain the world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage, neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are the children of God, being the children of the resurrection. Many people today have reached this, call it angel status, call it bride status, whatever word you want to give it, it's the same thing. It's no different. And we volunteer. I see it in the name of people. If they're volunteers, they either come in under the order of Michael, the order of Melchizedek, or the order of Enoch. Their name tells me what order they're here under. And if they're here under that order, Melchizedek and Michael and Enoch have all obtained bride status. All right, they've all obtained the light. They're all living, not in the flesh, but as Moses in the living waters. Every single prophet in the Old Testament is a bride. Period. we gotta go way outside the box and start thinking in Aramaic in order to begin to uh, get a deep dive into the living word. That's just all there is to it. You have to go into the Aramaic. It took me 6 years of reading the living word 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, to begin to comprehend in the tiniest way, as I stand right now, Aramaic, the concept behind the 22 codes of light. Again, it's a 300. Each code is a 300-page book. I can only, I guess I would say, it takes a Sabbath for me to go to the next layer. So I'm only going to grow basically a week at a time, right? I really need the Sabbath. I need some time in the codes. So, again, many people today have reached this status, and we are sent here. We volunteered to come here under the order of the three I've already mentioned. We come in, we look human, but most of us have zero interest in the ways of the flesh. We do not partake in the systems in this kingdom. Again, I know by looking at your name and understanding the letters that make up your name on your birth certificate, who you're here under the order of, what your purpose is, what your soul destiny is, how you've traveled through the codes. So, we have to take back and understand and start being our soapbox, if we need to stand on one, has to be about the power of the word. Period. Because we throw around our language, the English language, like garbage. We abbreviate our names, or worse, change our names, or worse, use nicknames. We have no respect for the power of God. Why do I say that? Because God is the Word. Let's remind ourselves, okay? I'm asking you guys, read John 1 every single day until the power of the Word is so profoundly imprinted on you that you use God with respect. Let's read John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, that predates Genesis 1:1. Genesis 1:1 happened way after John 1:1. The Word was God. When we speak, we are telling a story about our relationship with God. So, listen carefully. If you want to pay attention to someone, when they're using their words, they're telling you about their bride status, about their intimate relationship with God. Are they gossiping? Do you think a bride does that? Are they dropping F-bombs? Does a bride do that? Are they being, sarcastic, angry, telling lies? Are they using the word for force, right? To because of your status in life, and not as a bride, but your status, right? Your title, your indoctrination, entitlement. Are you using your words to coerce an audience, to rally political sides, to conquer and divide? Or are you using your words carefully with the living word? Are you staying more and talking more about Scripture for the greater good? Do you live and breathe the Word of God? Or are you idle in the marketplace? And if we don't start thinking like that, we are failing our mission as a bride, sent here by Jesus under the order of, fill in that blank. Are you seeing the bigger picture? If we can just get a generation of parents to raise their babies with this knowledge, no schools needed. We just use the power of your name and your words for love and respect, and open your mental and spiritual faculties also known as the third eye. There is nothing unbiblical about using your third eye. All of your God-given abilities, telepathy, telekinesis. It's how we built the Tower of Babel. We were trying to destroy the demiurge. Period. We did it telepathically until we were given languages. We were telepathic. We built the Tower of Babel telekinetically. That's why it was 8 miles high in the air. We were going to destroy the demiurge. That's what we, the bride, has the power to do. And we, the bride, know the real story. Cemetery-trained people, they all tell you it was Nimrod. And Nimrod is nowhere in Genesis 11. That's how confounded religious folk are. All right. Let's go back to AN. Back to Deuteronomy 34:7. Let's look at a few more words here on Moses. All right, let's read it again so we got a fresh understanding. Deuteronomy 34:7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. Now, why do you think force here means? Let's look at the concordance. Because there's 19 verses with the word force in. Only this verse, force, is the letter, or the number 3893. The number 3893 here, Moses' force, not abated. Force is 3893. It means moisture, freshness, and vigor. Now, he's dead, keep in mind. But yet we're told his force is not abated. His moisture, his freshness, and his vigor. Well, moisture to means he's full of living waters. That is to say, he's a bride. So let's look at force was not abated. The word abated. That is number 5127. And it means to flee or escape. So his eye was not dim. His force did not leave him. Do you think that's why Lucifer wanted the body of Moses? And why Michael had to protect the dead body of Moses? Remember that? Let's read it again, Jude 1:9. Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him railing accusation, but said, the Lord rebuke thee. What do you think's going on there? It's going to take a Sabbath. Let's get back to the eye. Let's look at that now. We read it in Moses. Now let's read what Jesus has to say about it. Let's go to the red letters, Matthew 6:22 and 23. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. If thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Keep in mind, I think it's 14 verses, or maybe it was only 7. Anyways, I went through one of the words I had to study was bride. Jesus never uses that word. Jesus never uses the word bride, and neither does Paul. Well, of course, because Paul's not a bride. But the point is, bride is if you do that study, you'll see it's mostly in the Old Testament, with the exception of John. It's a split between Old Testament brides, because all the prophets were a bride, and John. Okay, so what did we learn in Matthew 6:22? If we are full of light, is that not the bride status? That the force of this kingdom keeps you out of your power, right? Why? How? Well, they have an incredible force of money behind them. Mammon. They're mammon over you. And their false, lying doctrines searing your consciousness. They call it end times eschatology nonsense. This kingdom is one of the dark force. It's the entire Star Wars narrative. Literally. Steven Spielberg, a fallen angel, his big blockbuster, you remember Star Wars. The first one, I better attend to the fire here real quick. So, what was Luke Skywalker? Was he not holding up a saber of light, like Lucifer, the light bearer? Was Luke Skywalker a fallen angel who hates his father? Called what is it called? Darth Vader. Again, fallen angels fighting each other, who both hate God. And we, the people in Star Wars, are portrayed by why are they the white Star Troopers? Well, because sheep are white. And the Star Troopers are running around like chickens with no head. Why? They are mocking the ignorance of humans. Even though they fill all of your entertainment, all of your books, all of your videos with their truth. And we simply will not wake up as a species of brides down here to expose the systems of this kingdom. Why? Because Jesus is, again, he's not coming back. All right? He is sending his bride as he sent the prophets of the Old Testament. Now, let's look at force in another verse. Let's read Deuteronomy 22:25. But we can't stop there. I'm going to read all the way Deuteronomy 22 to 25 to 29. But I'm going to pause. So first let's read Deuteronomy 22 verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. What's being told to us here? Okay, force is the Hebrew word kazak. That number is 2388. Listen to what it means, force here. Because it sounds, when you just read Deuteronomy 22:25, and the man force her, it sounds like the man's going to rape her, or is raping her. But what does the concordance tell us here? The word force here doesn't mean anything negative. So the number 2388 means to strengthen, to prevail, to be strong and courageous. Now, if you read it on the surface, you think this man's going to rape her. It's not what it's telling us, though, is it? Why do you think here the meaning of force is what I just read? Well, you can't stop at Deuteronomy 22, verse 25. You've got to read the next 4 verses to understand the lesson being given. So the man in verse 25, he will die. Why? Karma. If he rapes her, which he's not going to, we're going to read the next, we got to read it in context. But if he would have raped her, that means death for him. Because it says at the end of verse 25, with her shall die. The man only that lay with her shall die. Okay. It's telling you about karma, reincarnation, the death birth cycle, rinse and repeat, the ignorance of being human in this kingdom. If he rapes her, it is his ignorance, and he will go backward as a soul and remain in this kingdom and never a bride. How do you stop the cycle? Well, okay, we got to read Deuteronomy 22, 26 to 29 now. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. And if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all of his days. Did you see it? What did we just read there? Well, the ignorant human did the right thing. Not only did he lay with her, but he made her his wife. no karmic debt to that. There are many groups of souls here in this kingdom called Earth right now. But we only need to understand two of those souls. We don't need to, I see a PLF a mile away, an NPC even further, a merfolk, a Sasquatch, a shapeshifter, a werewolf, all of that. I see all of that. AN, the code of light AN, the I, has been lit in me from day one. I came in with that, all my code of lights activated. So, but we only need to be concerned with two types of souls. The bride, wake her up, let her know she's a bride, right? Get busy, get back to your job you came here to do, or the Adamic soul that has not yet obtained the light. New souls, that is to say. The brides come here for a time of expansion into a new way of being in this kingdom, to uplift the distortions in the Adamic humans, the light of his body, to try and settle some of the static. Think of the vibration, the light of who you are. It's either shining bright and still, or it's a strobe light. So can you imagine a strobe light? It's like a fluorescent light. You think it's just on, but it's not. It's blinking 1,000,000 miles a minute, right? Brides come to settle some of the static, the strobe light. So we need to bring back to atoms so they can obtain the light, their bride status. We've got to stabilize their light. We got to take out the strobe of distortions. Now let's look at a few verses on this concept. You know me, I'm going to go to Proverbs and I'm going to go to the Psalms, right? I hang out there a lot. Proverbs 20 verse 27. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. A strobe cannot search. It deflects. A strobe is a cry for attention. Are you an influencer on social media? That's a strobe light. Or to say another word, overrun with emotions, of which prevents wisdom. Doing your rituals on social media, daily basis. The strobe, in other words, another word, biblical word for it is idolatry. Why? Because it does not allow for stillness. And I keep coming back. I think every video, almost, I keep doing Psalm 46:10. It's just my, it's I don't know, it's my go-to. It's one of the cornerstones. It's my foundation. It's my rock. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Why do I use this so much? It's for the bride to remember who she is. We as souls have been around for billions, if not trillions, or a number we can't even comprehend, years. We are eternal immortals. Who knows how long we've been around? How many worlds we've gone to? We don't come in with that memory. Again, we got to stop this waiting for the nonsense that religions today call end times eschatology or Antichrist or mark of the beast. Look, all of that happened in Jesus' generation, on his land, to his people, not us brides, not Christians, not anyone else. The Bible is a book of wisdom, how to get out of this kingdom. Now, let's keep on the light. Because like Moses was a bride, so are many of us here now. Let's read more. Psalm 119, 105. The word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Now, go and do a study on the 235 verses on the word light. Or, as I did, I didn't want to go through 235 verses. I like to stick to Job. You guys know why I like to stick to Job, right? Because Job is us. Job is us before we become the bride. Job is making his transition from Adam to the bride. Right? That's what Job is all about. He's making his transition. He fell into the consciousness in this dome world under the demiurge. He didn't judge or complain, and he obtained the light. That's what Job's about. So, instead of reading 235 verses, I read the 31 verses in Job. So for me, again, I'm thinking now in the language called Aramaic. Today people call it Hebrew. I'm never going to call it Hebrew. They adopted and tried to tell you it was their language. It's not. Okay, Aramaic is Aramaic, and the Hebrew doesn't come close. I read both. I read the Hebrews, I guess I would say meaning or concept behind each of the letters, and it's like a one word versus in a 300-page book. You must think in Aramaic. If you want to get your bride status, that's the language you're going to be thinking in. When you read something, you're going to be looking for Aramaic codes of light in what you're reading. That is to say, when you're reading the living word. So when I read 31 verses of Job with the word light, all I could see is the Aramaic code of light called Dalet. So what does Dalet mean? Well, if I were to simply put it, Dalet means door, path, and opening. So then I read the door or the path found as in one example, Job 41:32, on the hook of the Leviathan, right? That was my last video. I think it was. Anyways, you will see the word shine and path together. So shine is the word or. That number is 215, and it means light. And then path, that number is 5410, and it means traveler. So on the path of the bride's walk in this kingdom to help Adams to finally become undistorted out of the strobe into the or to shine, as Jesus tells us in Matthew 5:16. Let's read it. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Brides shine, and they know the shine of other brides when they see it. Why? Because it's the language of our soul. It's what made us. Jesus tells us this same concept, but in a different way. Once you understand the Aramaic thinking, you can see how Jesus is saying many things, or I should say, is saying one thing in many different ways. Let's look at it in another way. Matthew 13:43. Let's read it. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Again, that takes us back again to Dalet. Door, path, opening. So we read some on the door and the path. So let's look at the 7 verses in the word opening. As a bride, as was all of the prophets in the Bible. They were all brides. So here, I chose, out of the 7 verses of opening, going with Isaiah 61:1. Let's see what Isaiah is telling us about our walk as the bride. Isaiah 61:1, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Now, you probably wouldn't think to go to the word prison in the concordance. Most people think they know what the word prison means, but that's not what it says here. We can't just assume we understand opening of the prison to them that are bound. So here, opening is the number 6495. And the word prison, since that is what we are opening, the word prison doesn't mean prison. Prison, or I should say prison, is also 6495. I didn't look at opening is just that, opening. But prison is the number 6495. So prison here means the opening of the eyes wide. So when it says opening of the prison, what we're reading is opening of the eyes wide. Look it up, 6495. Without going every word through the concordance, you cannot begin to understand the living word. Who would ever think prison means the opening of the eyes wide? When you read the Bible exegetically, it's there in plain sight. Eyes wide open. So now for me, right, that means I have to stop now, and I got to go do a study on the word prison, right? It's found in 84 verses. The first prison is found in Genesis 39:20. And here, prison is the number 1004. And it means habitation, as in inhabiting an animal or a human body. Wait, what? You're getting my drift, right? You're getting my point here. Listen, only a bride can open a prison to those souls bound in the satanic light at the end of the tunnel. Now, of course, I thought, should I go look for a tunnel of light? Is there such a thing in the Bible? Well, no. In the concordance, the word tunnel doesn't exist. So I had to think of an image of a tunnel, and when I thought of what in the Bible would match an image of a tunnel, immediately Holy Spirit showed me wineskin. And I said, of course, wineskin. Do you guys know what a wineskin looks like? You can Google that image and you'll see it. Well, so then I understood about this prison as the wineskin. Again, let's read Matthew 9:17 on this. Neither do men put new wine into old wineskins, else the wineskins break and the wine runs out and the wineskins perish. But they put new wine into new wineskins and both are preserved. So, brides can come into this kingdom and be preserved. We do not face any fear of being back on the karmic cycle. We jump in like a traveler, which I already broke down. We jump back out, or, that is to say, we resurrect out of here as Jesus did. To know this is to know the Aramaic word kaf. Kaf has the value of 20. Kaf means the palm of the hand. It also means to cover, to open, and to allow. Now, you will find this concept in Matthew 25, what the brides are to do. Let's read first Matthew 25, verse 36. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Do you think Jesus is wanting us to drive out to some state penitentiary, some maximum security prison? Is that what he's saying here? Here, prison is different. Prison here in Matthew 25:36 is the number 5438. Prison, number 5438, means to guard and to watch over. That's the word kaf. This is what I do. At least it's my intent. When I put out these Bible study videos, to watch over the eyes of the bride, that religions and indoctrinations do not keep you from doing your job here, which is to say, teach how to lose the strobe light. that is on your soul, on your soul's frequency, your vibration. One way to stop this is simply use the power of the word correctly. What do I mean by that? Use your full birth name, the name on your birth certificate. And if you changed it, get rid of the change. That's your soul's vibration. The soul that wanted to express itself in this lifetime, in this kingdom, if you're not knowing that you're a bride, it's probably because you changed your name. Or don't abbreviate. You don't abbreviate who you are. Stop using nicknames. Do not abbreviate, Richard to Dick or William to Mike or whatever the abbreviations are. Stop that. Be in your full expression, the codes of light given to you by your mother or whoever put your name on a birth certificate. That's your soul contract. Hold on to your spiritual authority. If you are abbreviating, changing, and using nicknames, you do not have your spiritual authority, and you will not stop the supernatural over you, the evil over you. You cannot fight spiritual warfare when you are out of your spiritual authority. If you have changed your name, you have distorted not only your authority, but your discernment. Your ability to spiritually discern between light and dark is gone. It's over. And if you're calling your kids cutesy names that has nothing to do with their birth certificate name, you are distorting and destroying their ability for authority and discernment. That's evil. That's evil. What we do to our kids because of ignorance. Now, we're forgiven because of ignorance. But at some point, you've got to stop using that as an excuse. You can't always hang your hat on that, peg, hook. Leviathan hook. Your spiritual discernment, it's your survival in this kingdom of flesh. Many of you who are listening to this video are brides because the vibration resonates with you. If you're not a bride, you're listening to the videos that those platforms have 1 million subscribers and 1 million viewers because it's idolatry. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing the bigger picture? A bride would know better than to watch a video with 1 million subscribers and 1 million viewers. She just does. Or she's been distorted. Again, changing your name takes you out of spiritual authority. It brings you into the manipulation, the control, and the dark force of the One-Niner Club. Look, we're 26 years past the One-Niner Club. We have to stop their manipulation and degradation on our soul. At least mom and grandma, don't do it to the little ones. Just stop. Just stop. Listen, mom and dads, calling your children by cutesy abbreviations of their full name is putting a snare, a net, a strobe light on their soul. It's not cute to call your baby girl Bubba. I see an influencer on social media. She has a beautiful baby girl that has an Aleph in her name, a TA, a Ta, 22, code of light. Her name starts with TA, but mom doesn't call her that. Mom influencer doesn't call her that. Mom calls her Bubba. You talk about evil disguised as an angel of light. Or I did a reading the other day. A person's name was beautiful, powerful name, Liliana. 2 Alephs in her first name. And yet she got rid of Anna. And everybody's been calling her in her entire life Lily. No Alephs. Do you think she's lived a life of empowerment? No. She has been controlled and abused by an ugly so-called husband. Why? She took not only did she take 2 Alephs out of her first name, she got rid of her last name that had 2 Alephs and took on his name. Wow. And you wonder why there's so many disempowered people. Well, you wonder why we're so easily controlled and manipulated. Why? Because we are careless with God. That is to say, the Word. We're confounded. We're careless. We don't care. We just don't care. Collectively, as a species. Why do you think the only one thing that they wanted to do to us at Babel is confound our language? They understand the power of the Word. That's why they confounded the language. And today, the confoundment, I guess today it's called woke, is it not? Do not get rid of the A in your name, the Aleph, that is pure source fire. And don't do that to your babies. It's not cute, it's evil to the core. It's only done in evil kingdoms, of one of which is called Earth. Earth is not the only evil dome, but that is over. It's time to transmute this dome's fallen consciousness. Listen, brides, it's time to turn this dome on its head and be part of something for Jesus. Notwithstanding, all right, you're not doing something for Jesus when you're standing in Walmart screaming, Jesus is coming. He's not. Okay, stop. Oh, the amount of social media that I see on that. Jesus left behind the Holy Spirit, and to say he is coming is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. Look, you can blaspheme Jesus, and you can blaspheme man or whatever you want. You blaspheme Holy Spirit, there is no forgiveness. Anytime you accept the bride, light, your lamp is lit, your shine is on, and your words are used with love and care. For the atoms, which is the Aramaic word ta. Ta means mark, seal, sign, and covenant. Now, you could go through the concordance, as I did. I looked up mark, sign, and seal. And they all mean the same thing. Basically just that, a seal, a signet. But now I went through the 272 verses with the word covenant. Covenant is mostly, again, there's lots of times they have different meanings, but covenant in its most root form is number 1285, and it is Aramaic word bereth, as in it's the root of Bereshith, which means in the beginning. It means a treaty, alliance, or agreement between God and man. That is not just for a few prophets in the Old Testament. It's an ongoing reality of your power that the force is keeping you ignorant of going to their so-called worship service. Only fallen angels want worship. Man does not want that. You can see the real Adamic humans go crazy when they are idolized. They lose their minds. They become overnight celebrities. And the next thing you know, they are addicted to drugs and alcohol. They're doing blood rituals. They're getting overdosed, found overdosed, dead, whatever. They lose their identity. They lose their self. They lose their mental stability. They become whacked out. They become a puppet for the industry called force. May the force be with you. I better attend to the fire here. I don't want this to go into some other thing. Okay. So they become, again, they turn into these evil, I don't know what to call them, some type of evil people that like to burn babies to Baal or to sacrifice babies to Moloch, right? They do what? They start doing their freak-off parties, which is a Greece pagan thing, literally called freak-off. It's just spelled differently in the Greek, language. That's what worship. An atom, it makes them a freak-off wannabe, to attend that kind of stuff. They also become, so-called priests wearing their Dagon fish hats, celebrating their god, half human, half fish. It's literally, his name is Dagon. Go look at it, 7 verses. They're merfolk, right? Dagon, that name is in 7 verses. All right, let's wrap up. Let's get back to the power of light, your shine, and its completeness of Ta. Ta, T-A, is the last in the fullness of the 22 codes of light. Let's read it. And live your days in the covenant of Ta. Ta has a value of 400. Now do you understand the 40 in the Bible? Okay, Ta, if I were to say in 2 words, to give you a little legend, Ta is about truth and protection. Truth and protection. Ta is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Aramaic alphabet, meaning mark, sign, omen, or seal. It's the symbol of truth, perfection, and completion. It represents the restoration tikkun of all of existence. It is a return to the essence and purpose of one's life. It represents completion before beginning again with the original oneness of the Aleph. The Ta shows us that the end was set from the beginning, as Ta is the final letter, Bereshit, in the beginning, the first word of the Bible. It is the idea that the Creator set in motion all of existence in order to reach a final state of perfection, the fulfillment of all of creation. It is the completion of truth, Emet. However, as soon as the Ta is reached, we begin again immediately by going back to the Aleph, the one source of everything. The end is never really the end, but the beginning of something new. Ta refers to the sublime pleasure innate within the crown. The crown is the will of divine emanation. The letter Ta, here referring to the kingdom of the Infinite One, blessed be He, leaves its impression on the Ancient of Days. The impression is the secret of simple faith in God, ultimate omnipresence, and infinite present in the finite. The initial impression of the true faith which was stamped upon the soul of our first father, Abram, whose name was changed to Abraham, giving him 3 Alephs. Abraham was the first of all the believers. This is the secret of Abraham's purchase of the cave of Machpelah, the original Jewish cemetery, for 400, the numerical value of Ta, shekels. The secret of our eternal inheritance of our 400 words of pleasure, sealed with the stamp and simple faith. The last letter or seal of the word Emet, truth itself, the seal of God's seal, is the letter Ta, simple faith, the conclusion and culmination of all 22 powers, letters, active in creation. All follows the seal, in secret of returning light from Ta to the Aleph, thereby forming the word Ta, which is a cell. Around the inner sanctuary of the temple were constructed many cells or small chambers. These cells were without windows, thus being completely dark inside. Chizedek teaches that these cells reveal the level of Hay, places. Hay is a code of light. We call the number 5. Is concealed places in darkness, the awareness of simple faith reaching into the absolutely dark essence of God. Ta is a complete 3-dimensional template. Ta is the end of a cycle and closing of a circle, but it is not the end of the way. The big cycle, if Dalet is 4, Mem is 40, and Ta is 400, indicating 3 levels of psychicality. But Ta is also the beginning of a new path. Ta is a stop sign that says no further, and hence, to the wise, knowing we are ignorant brings us closer to God. Whoever feels clever with a bag full of answers will probably be prevented from continuing the process. Resh, Shin, and Ta, if you look above the TV with the fire on it, the last 3 letters, the bottom line, the last line, and the last 3 letters, that is Resh, Shin, and Ta. Resh, Shin, and Ta constitute together the new network of possibilities that is connected to the silver epoch. Together they are the permission and the service to which one can aspire. The journey from Aleph to Ta can contribute not only to a person walking his path, it can also give payback to the original source. This is the beginning of a new hope that continues to grow. Brides will come around and begin to only think in Aramaic. The language. I finished the word. I finished my shortened version of Ta. So now this is what I'm saying. Brides will come around and begin to only think in Aramaic, the language that brought to life eternally from Aleph to Ta. This is wisdom, freedom, and truly living Matthew 25. The 22 codes are all in Matthew 25. Matthew 25 says nothing about religions or schools or working 9 to 5, right, for the dark force. Read it as a great reminder of our commission as the bride and not as religious recruiting officers. Now, before I get to what we are to do in Matthew 25, Jesus already taught us on already being the bride, right? With the parable of the virgins. Remember that? Let's reread it. Matthew 25, 1 and 2. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. The brides are wise. Okay, we are the wise ones. Half of us here, at least, that is to say, atoms. There's a lot of humans that are not an atom, and nowhere close to being an atom. The majority of all of them that aren't PLFs and NPCs are merfolk. Right, you just deal with that. They are. All right. So us atoms, a lot of us are already brides. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, now. So let's go to what does a bride do? Matthew 25, let's read 34 to 40. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered, or fed thee thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. Every single thing an Adam does in this dome is not mentioned here. That is to say, religion, schools, indoctrination, the systems of this dome, none of it's in Matthew 25, is it? All of our indoctrination is not mentioned here, even though Jesus knows what the year 2026 has firmly in place, does he not? It's why, after he is done telling us how to walk as a bride in verses 34-40, then he says the most dangerous verses in all of the living word that no one wants to hear. Oh, you're going to hear it. I'm going to remind you right now. Let's read verses 41 to 46. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. Does the money your church/temple takes in feed the hungry and thirsty in your community? I'm just asking you. Let's move it on. Verse 43, I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, you did not visit me. Or house, or clothe anyone? Does your church house or clothe anyone? Verse 44, then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when we saw thee a hungered or thirst, a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? 45, then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of least of these, ye did it not to me. So how much is the pastor you're idolizing worth? Just follow the mammon. Let's wrap up verse 46. And these shall go away into the everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Listen, brides, wake up. The Adams need you, or at least your children need you, to stop abbreviating their names Sending them to school 6 days a week. Just because you send them to Sunday school does not mean that's not an indoctrination. We must be a nation of empowered words, using the fullness of our names and the knowledge, at least a bit, getting into wrapping our minds around the concept of the Aramaic language. The English language does nothing for you. It is a curse. It is a confoundment on your soul. It is a strobe light and a distortion. You must have your head more in the concept of Aramaic than in the English. And if you don't do that, there's no way to alleviate the distortions. You have to be thinking like an Aramaic. You have to be thinking like Jesus. How are you going to have a conversation with him if you're not thinking in the language that he is? Bride is in 14 verses. It needs a thorough study. And by the way, as I said, none of them are found. Jesus didn't use the word. And of course, Paul didn't. Well, Paul is not a bride. He doesn't understand that concept. The bride is found with the brides, that is to say, in the Old Testament. The prophets are the brides in the Old Testament. And they know they're the brides. That's why they call themselves the bride. They knew that John would use that word. Anita K. Owens, Potter out.